All right, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Doug Sandler. On this side, over in small Ojai, California, over in sunny Florida, is Mr. John Browning. Welcome to the podcast, John.
All right, good to be here yet another week. And it's amazing, right? We are on two sides of the United States. I mean, clear opposite sides, and we can do this just like I do with clients. Matter of fact, I have clients in Hawaii, and we do
Wow.
this back and forth. This is how we do it.
The technology, and we're going to talk more about technology today, but I love the technology because it just does give you a chance to connect most of my clients. I hate to say old school, I would have to be in front of every one of my clients. I was in the real estate mortgage business. I don't think I made a deal without shaking a hand of someone or seeing somebody. Nowadays, it's exactly the opposite. I don't know. We've never met face to face. I mean, we've had a chance to talk for the last couple of years, but we've never actually done this face to face, as do I do the same thing with 99.9% of my clients. I kind of like it this way. I'm not wearing pants right now. So this is good.
Okay, TMI. TMI.
If you're catching this on YouTube, you're only seeing me from about maybe a little higher than waistline up. So I could wear my pajamas. I'm usually shoeless. I could tell you that. I do have my flip-flops on every once in a while.
Yeah. And you know what? A funny story. I just had a client, a new client that really couldn't, she's a little bit older, and she really doesn't have this whole DocuSign thing. And a lot of us
Yeah.
online listening here know what DocuSign is a way you can sign documents and verify you through technology. She's not comfortable with that. For the first time, I think I was looking back to see when I'd done this. When was the last time I did a full paper file,
Right.
sent it to somebody to have them literally physically sign it? I think I went back to like 2019. I have not actually printed it out and had somebody sign it with a wet signature, the whole package, since 2019. It was just sort of, and I had to refresh, how do I do this?
She didn't ask you to fax it though, did she?
She
Just
didn't.
kidding.
Oh, so the funny thing is, she did. She did. Not
I'm
joking.
not
I can't make this stuff up.
not laughing at anybody that still uses fax machines, but I love it whenever I do anything with the IRS, which hopefully is more infrequent than it ever has been before. But every once in a while, they do ask me to fax a document. I have to scan it into my phone so I can use the electronic fax, not a real
Yeah,
fax.
that's exactly what we're doing. We're gonna do some of it by fax, and some of it I just sent old fashioned, overnight mail, so nothing got lost. But yeah, we're doing some faxing, and you know what? To her credit, she is right. It's probably one of the safer ways now,
Well,
because it's old school technology and it's really hard to hack a fax.
it's really hard to hack a fax. You are right about that. Well, today, John, we're going to put you and technology together once again, but we're going to do it a slightly different way. I plugged into ChatGPT, advice that you would ask a financial advisor about their financial philosophy. And so I've got a handful of questions that I want to run by you that ChatGPT created in order to kind of to grill you a little bit, John. You okay with this?
Hey, let's do it. I'm up for the challenge to see what it asks, and if it's really really hard, we can edit it out. I don't think we've ever edited anything out on our
No,
podcast.
I think you're right. All right, let's do it. All right, I have a series of questions. We'll time this for about 15 minutes worth of Q&A here, and so depending on how long it takes you to answer a question, will determine how many questions that we ask. So here comes question number one from ChatGPT. What
Okay.
is your investment philosophy, and how did you arrive at it, John?
Oh boy. There's a whole section on the website, guardianrockwealth.com, that is titled Investment Philosophy.
Okay.
So I could go really long time on this, but um goodness. And now I'm trying to remember what it says. Essentially, our investment philosophy is that, number one, history is a guide, but it is not necessarily going to repeat itself. We
Hmm.
believe that wholeheartedly. The market is constantly changing, and we need to change with it, is another part of that philosophy. And discipline. We believe that you really need to, it is a must that you remain disciplined even when it doesn't feel good. A lot like when you go to the gym,
Mm.
or if you're on a diet, when it doesn't feel good not to eat that donut, or when it doesn't feel good to get up early in the morning and go to the gym, you still need to do it.
Okay.
So
All
that's
right.
really boiled down.
I
But
do know, but I appreciate that because I hate going to the gym, but I manage going there 2 or 3 days a week. So it's just, I want the results. I don't want the workout, right?
yeah,
That's what it all
right.
comes down to. Okay. ChatGPT, here is your next question from ChatGPT. What is your approach to managing risk in investment portfolios? So in other words, how do you determine what risk to take within an investment portfolio?
Well, number one, it really depends on the person for sure. Some people do not mind, and they're at a stage in their life where they can take a 30, even 40%, correction in the market, and they're absolutely fine with it. They have the time and they have the, I'll call it intestinal fortitude to deal
Hmm.
with that. On the flip side, most of our clients are looking for much less volatility than that. So the way that we manage that is number one, we stick to our philosophy in that history is not likely to repeat itself, but it'll often rhyme, right? We believe that there are lessons to be learned from history. One of those lessons is that things will change, and things are changing, and things did change, and they will continue to change. So things like bonds versus stocks, bonds no longer move in the opposite direction of stocks. So that idea of risk management no longer works. However, there are other risk management techniques and innovations, dare I say, in the marketplace that allow us to manage risk much differently, and probably much differently than, I'm going to say, 75 to 80% of other financials do that. And part of that comes from my, spending 30 years on Wall Street, a great deal of it specifically managing risk. I don't know if that answers that question or not, but
Well, that would be up to ChatGPT to tell me whether you answer the
whether I
question.
hit it or not. Okay, fair enough.
I'd say you hit it fairly solidly out of the park on that one too. All right.
Okay.
Next one from ChatGPT. How do you communicate with clients and keep them informed about the performance of their investments?
All right. So, first of all, they get a statement from our custodian, which is not us. We do not house the cash of our clients. We happen to use Charles Schwab as our custodian. So they get a monthly statement there that lists all of their
Hmm.
holdings and what has happened during the month. On a quarterly basis, we send them our own Guardian Rock Wealth. It's not a statement, but it's just a synopsis of how their sectors break out and how their performance has been over the past quarter. And then I encourage, but some of our clients don't want to talk to me, believe it or not. They don't want to talk to me quarterly, but I encourage quarterly or at least semi annually conversations where we do a Zoom, like we're recording this podcast. Or there are a few clients here in Florida that I'll go and we'll get together in person as well, which is always fun. Good to see people. There's a few that don't do either, and we end up doing a conversation over the phone. And of course, I'm always available. I tell my clients that I will get back to them within 24 to 48 hours if they leave me a message or send me an email or whatever. And I believe I've always been successful at that. Usually it's faster than that, but in case we have a weekend or I'm on a little vacation and have a little trouble, I say 48 hours.
All right. All right. Next question from ChatGPT. How do you stay informed about market trends and economic developments?
That is a constant thing for me. So I do what we call the morning update, and it goes out over Substack each morning. If you're interested in that, reach out to us at guardianrockwealth.com and say, hey, I'm interested in the morning update, and I will send you the link to that. You can subscribe, it's no cost. And so I start out about 6 a.m. in the morning. Um, I'm not a 5:30 guy. Sorry, I just can't do it. But
That's
6
too
a.m.
early.
in the morning,
Yeah.
and literally within 5 minutes of opening my eyes, I am getting into the markets and finding what happened overnight. And that continues really to some extent throughout the day. But for the first 2 hours of each day, we're doing analysis and we're getting information, and we're not getting it from necessarily some of the traditional news sources. We're getting it from the actual source.
Mhm.
So we don't get a lot of the politics involved. I mean, politics does matter when you're managing money because it's a complex adaptive system, which we've talked about, right? And people trade the markets based on their emotions. They make decisions based on their emotions. So in the short term, particularly, the politics do matter, but we try and get factual information first, do our analysis for a long-term investment strategy. I'm not sure if I hit that one right. Did that make some
Yeah, that
sense?
was good. Now, and when do you tend to complete your day when it comes to just doing a check-in on the markets? It sounds like most of your day you're spending time just checking the markets, seeing what they're doing.
Checking in and out. Of course, a lot of that is, I'm busy with clients or something like that during the day. It's really at the beginning of the day, there's a concentrated time period. And then throughout the day, I'm checking in. Generally, a lot of times though, if you talk to me at say noon on a given day or 10 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock, oh my goodness, what's going on with the market? I can't tell you right then for about that. I'm a long-term view.
Right, right.
I focus longer term. I don't worry so much about what's happening in the day to day unless it's a major event. And then at the end of the day, so after the market closes, say, oh, what happened here? Okay, well, that's okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. I need to mark this for the morning, my morning 2.5 hours of concentrated study and analysis. And then over the weekend, a lot of times my wife doesn't like it, but yeah, Saturdays are usually there's a time period in there where I never really stop. Even when I'm at the gym, I don't listen to music. I listen to podcasts or
So
I listen to
it's
stuff like
interesting.
that.
It's interesting that you're saying this because, it's obvious to me as a guy that has been hanging out with you doing, 100 plus episodes of your podcast over the last, 25 plus weeks or however long we've been doing this together, probably even more than that. I mean, 25 plus months. Or what sorry, I don't
It's
even
been a
know
long
how long
time.
it's a long time. It's been a long time. Uh, you like doing this. I mean, this is not just your job, this is your hobby, and it's not just a career, it's something that you are passionate about as well. And anybody that listens to your show or knows you personally would tell you that as well, and I'm assuming you'd agree.
Yeah, I am truly fascinated by the inner workings of the marketplace and also how like new innovations and things like that impact things, and then how the really boring and mundane things factor into the complex adaptive marketplace. I've been fascinated with that for a long time, and as long as I can think clearly, I think I will still do this because it's just a lot of fun.
It is a big puzzle, and it is a big game, the big circle. And I'm not saying game in like a juvenile way. It's just it is a big chase and a hunt, and it's got to be thoroughly ingrained in your being in order for you to love it as much as I know that you do. So everybody that is in our audience, I'm sure, appreciates the fact that you are as passionate as you are about the markets
Because
too.
a lot of people aren't, and I get
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and we have one more time. We have time for one more question from ChatGPT. Can you explain the different types of investment vehicles that you recommend, and what are those vehicles?
Well, that's a comment. Okay, let's see how we can do this in an abbreviated way. So, number one, I typically like 99% of the time I will avoid mutual funds. And I think we've talked about that before too. I think they're a bit outdated, and this is going to get all my mutual fund friends upset with me because I grew up in the mutual fund world and managed mutual funds myself. But I think these days there are better avenues to invest. Exchange traded funds we use. We use, of course, individual securities because that's my background. I have the background and ability to do that. And we'll use some, not very many right now. In the past 3 years, we have not used traditional fixed income like corporate bonds and government bonds and municipal bonds because they just haven't been, in my opinion, and this is not investment advice, they have not been a great place to invest. Where we use as substitutes is something called structured products. And there's a past episode, Building Your Life episode, on structured products, what they are and how they can be used to reduce risk, increase cash flow. And there's also a way to use them to increase risk if that's what you want to do. We very rarely use them to increase risk. Normally it's to decrease and to create the cash flow that people need so that they can be at peace in retirement and not worry about when they have to sell a particular security. They know they're getting the cash flow to meet their daily needs.
Well,
And I think that's pretty much the extent of what we use in terms of products or that type of things. We will also use insurance products such as annuities or life insurance and that type of thing where it's appropriate, where it makes sense, and it often does.
well, I've typed in all of your answers, and ChatGPT wants to thank you. ChatGPT, I don't have a name for my ChatGPT, but they said thank you, John Browning, for providing these insightful answers. And if you have any more inquiries or need further assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, meaning ChatGPT.
Chat
So
GPT.
yeah, I mean, I've gotten into so many cool things that ChatGPT can do, and I'm like, hey, I want to include this as a part of what we're doing for today's episode because you probably could even get investment advice, not good investment advice, but you probably could get at least historical advice or information from ChatGPT. I don't. Do you use it as a part of your daily like communication, or do you use it for writing marketing emails or campaigns or anything like that?
Some things, yeah. I mean, I think it's good to help me come up with ideas. If I'm like, you get writer's block or whatever, and it's great to type something in. The limitation is that it only goes up through what 2020
Well, yeah,
or
if you're
something like
going to
that.
ask it for current advice, it makes it a
Yeah.
little bit more challenging. But if you need something spiced up a little bit in terms of language, it has really helped me write some good emails, some good direct messages. I do a lot of communication on LinkedIn as well. But we've gotten a little off subject here. You've done a good job, and ChatGPT wants to thank you for doing this good job.
Well, tell Chat GPT is very welcome.
If anything that John had answered today gives you pause to say, I did not think of that, I think you should try to communicate with John and reach out to him and say, hey, I want to learn more about this. The best way to do that, or one of the ways to do that, is just text the word life to 321-421-5213. Fill out the information that is requested, and you will get information back in return. Or you can go to John's website. John, why don't you tell him how to get to your website?
Yeah. So if you go out to Guardian Rock Wealth, all run together, guardianrockwealth.com, and there in the contact us section, you can fill out, I think it's just name, phone number, email. As long as you have some way to contact you back, we will absolutely do that. We're
All
happy to.
right. All right. Well, get in touch with John that way, or you can check the link in the show notes for all of that information. John, thanks for sharing your expertise once again this week. Thanks for being here on the show.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you next week.